morning, everybody. We're going to take a little break from going through our story of Moses this morning because today is a special day. You can see that I'm wearing a poppy, and we wear poppies on Remembrance Sunday. Remembrance Sunday is when we choose to remember all the sadness that happened in the wars and all the people that died so that we can have peace today. There's a Bible verse in John chapter 15 verse 13 that says, "Greater love has no one than this, to lay down one's life for one's friend." And in the war, lots of people died so that we can have peace today. And it's important that we remember them and remember that time of sadness. What does God remember, do you think, and what does God forget? Well, I'm going to take you on a little journey through the Bible, and we can see what God remembers and what God forgets and what that can mean for us. The first thing we're going to find on our journey is a rainbow. Now, what does that help us remember in the Bible? Any ideas? That helps us to remember Noah. And Noah must have thought that God had forgotten about him because he was trapped on that boat with his family and all the animals, and it looked as though the rain was never ending, and he probably thought, oh, God's forgotten about me. But God hadn't. God knew Noah by name. He knows us by name. And he hadn't forgotten Noah, and he put a beautiful rainbow in the sky to remind us that he hasn't forgotten us. So next time you see a rainbow, and there's been a lot lately, haven't there? Because it's been raining a lot, you can think about the fact that God always remembers us. He hasn't forgotten us. So remember that particularly in these times. The next thing I've got on our little journey through the Bible is this small bottle. I wonder what could be in this small bottle. Well, in Psalm 56, David writes, "You have stored my tears in your bottle and counted them." What does that mean? That's a funny thing to say. Well, that means that God knows and remembers what's happened to us in the good times, but particularly in the bad times. In the Bible, Rachel and Hannah really were sad and they wanted to have a baby, and God heard their prayer and he answered their prayer. God also remembered Abraham's nephew who was captured in war. God remembers us in times of trouble, and we need to trust him to rescue us and come close to us. So I'm going to put that down on the Bible with my rainbow. Next of all, I've got this giant book. This is God's book of life, where he writes down everything that we do, that we're going to do, our hopes and our dreams. In the book of Malachi in the Bible, there's a verse that says, "All those who truly respected the Lord and honoured his name started discussing these things. And when God saw what was happening, he had their names written as a reminder in his book." God knows and remembers all our prayers, all our hopes, all our longings, all the work that we faithfully try to do, even when we get it wrong. God keeps his promise and he won't rub us out in his big book of life. Next, we're going to think about, what does God forget? Do you think God does forget? Well, God is God and he knows everything that was, everything that is, everything that's going to happen in the future. So he can't really forget. But God does choose not to remember certain things. Now, the next thing in my box, the Bible, is this bit of paper. And as you can see, it's a bit messy because I've spilt ink all over it and I've got big blots on it. Now, the big thing that God chooses to forget is the things that we have done wrong. So often we try our best, but because we're people, we get stuff wrong, don't we? We make a mess of things and we muck them up, just like this big ink splodge on my page. And what is it that enables God to choose to forget all the things that we've done wrong? Well, let me look in my box to find the next thing we're going to look at, and that is this. And this is a cross. So the way that God can choose to forget the things that we've done wrong is through Jesus. Because Jesus died on the cross, even though he'd done nothing wrong, he takes all our place and takes all our consequences of the things that we do wrong. And because of that, those ink spots on that page just get washed right away. And like all the bad stuff that we does gets washed right away. when we decide to follow Jesus. And because of that, God chooses to forget the things that we have done wrong. So I've got one more thing in my box, and that is in this bag, a lovely roll. And the reason I've got a roll is because we are talking about remembrance today. And when we break bread like this, that's when we as Christians choose to remember what Jesus has done for us by dying on the cross for us. So when we have communion, when we meet as church and we break bread and we eat bread and we drink wine, that's to help us to remember the great sacrifice that Jesus made for us by dying on the cross. So on this Remembrance Sunday, take some time to be quiet and think about all the people that gave their lives so that we could have peace today. And you could spend some time as a family praying together and thanking God for them and their lives. And also perhaps you could have a family communion together, and you could take some bread and you could share it and some wine, or if your child don't drink wine, have blackcurrant juice instead, and choose to remember what Jesus did for us by dying on the cross. If you look on I think there's either a link or there's an attachment, there's some different activities that you can do for Remembrance Sunday. There's a poppy you can make together, and there's a couple of worksheets that have also got ideas that you can do as a family. So enjoy your Remembrance Sunday. Take time to be quiet and think about all the people in wars and who are still fighting in wars today, and to thank God for their sacrifice. And I will see you next week, where we'll continue our story of Moses. Bye, everyone.